What's happening, fight fans? My name's Will Butler, and in this video I'm going to be talking about a really horrible, annoying topic, but it's something what could probably happen in your career. In fact, most likely will happen in your career, and if it don't, then that's absolutely great and you've got no need to watch this video. But we're talking about losing a fight. When you lose your first ever fight, and maybe how you should deal with it, or how I think you should deal with it after losing, what maybe you should do, how to lose gracefully. Fans, my name's Will Butler. I am a mixed martial artist and a personal trainer and just a massive MMA enthusiast. If you're new to this channel, you might want to consider subscribing if MMA content is your thing. Right, so talking about, like I said, losing. Now, I'll tell you a little bit of story about me, what happened with me losing in my career, and I will tell you how I took it and what I think you should do to be able to take the loss and then get over it and move on. Right, to start off with, my first ever professional MMA fight, I won in under a minute. So as you can imagine, I was absolutely buzzing. And then my second MMA fight, professional, I lost in under a minute. So it was like going from a massive high to a massive low. Now the worst thing about that loss is it was in my hometown, and I had the biggest fans like I've ever had personally at a fight. I had my uncle there who I look up to massively, I had my dad there who I look up to massively, and I had a load more friends and family. So as you can imagine, I took that loss pretty hard. It was devastating. But a few things what people said to me afterwards, and as I've got a little bit older now, I understand more, because back then I didn't have children and things like that. But the loss isn't everything. It may feel like it at the time, especially if you're young and MMA is your whole life, but the loss isn't everything. If you get out with no serious life-threatening injuries, then as far as I'm concerned, you're fine. And you're going to learn a lot, and I did learn so much from my loss. So that is one massive positive to always try and think about in your head. Like at the end of the day, you're still going to have people out there really important around you who love you. And that loss doesn't have to define you, and make it not define you. What I mean by that is, if you lose and then you give up, then maybe you're always going to know as losing. But if you lose and you come back and you win some, and maybe you lose again, and then you come back and you win a couple more, and then you lose, and then you end up stopping, then you're not going to be known as a loser. You're going to be known as a tough fighter who went for it and had some tough fights. But if you give up after your first loss, it's really not going to look good. You try to sort of never end your career on a loss. Sometimes, obviously, it can't be helped. Like if you're an older fighter and you're getting towards the end of your career and you end up losing some and you get into a losing streak, that's understandable. But like I said, you're going to be known for your other fights, you're going to be known for your wins. But if you give up after your first loss, then maybe MMA isn't for you. But that's how you truly know, is if you try and come back and then you come back stronger. Now, like I said, you always learn from a loss. The reason why you always learn from a loss is because you've got stuff to look back on. You can look back on video footage of your fight. I mean, with mine, I didn't have a lot to look back on because it only lasted a minute. And again, the worst thing about my fight was it weren't nothing technically I'd done wrong. I know what I'd done wrong. It weren't necessarily nothing technically, and no disrespect for my opponent. If anything, I'm praising him, because I trained for exactly what he was going to do, literally exactly what he was going to do, I trained for. So there was no shocks or surprises. He just come in and just wiped the floor with me. But it made me realise what I needed to learn, and I feel like I froze a little bit in the moment, and I made a promise to myself afterwards that I'd never do that. And my fight I come back from after that, admittedly I lost that one as well, but I lost on points, and it was very, very close, hard fought fight, and it actually got fight of the night. And a lot of people said I could have won it, like the other person won on split decision. So it just goes to show that although I had the bad loss, I know I didn't come back and win, but I come back and had a very good fight afterwards. So it just goes to show that you can learn stuff even if it's just a quick fight. Plus as well, you always got to learn from your camp building up to the fight as well. Obviously, don't forget that. Don't think as if the fight is wasted because you've got the experience of the camp. Try and keep that in your head. Think about it in this sense, you lose nearly every other day in training. In training, sometimes your opponent's going to get the better of your sparring, or you're going to get tapped out. And what you do from that is you learn from it. So it's exactly the same with a fight. Just try and think of it that way, that might help as well. One thing what I really don't like about people when they do lose fights, and what I've always tried to steer away from, even though I feel as if I could make up excuses, is excuses. Try not to ever publicly make your excuses known. I don't think you should. The reason why is because at the end of the day, no matter if you did have an injury, no matter if this happened, no matter if that happened, you still took that fight. You still decided to step into that fight. Now you could have always said, no, I'm not fighting, I need to pull out. I know that can be really hard for fighters sometimes to pull out of a fight because there's so much training gone involved and things like that. But at the end of the day, your opponent could have had an injury. Your opponent might not have been at his 100%. But he still won. He still pulled it out on the night. But what you can do is use that excuse. Just say, for example, I know you had an injured ankle, so your movement weren't quite there and you was getting caught all the time. You know that in your head. Don't tell no one else, but when you're training, you know that you weren't 100%. So that way you know you can beat that opponent if you get a rematch. Or, if not, you know when you go into your next fight, you're going to be a lot better than what you was because of the excuse. Like I said, I had a fight once where the rules of the fight got changed right at the last minute, and I feel as if I lost that fight because of it. But I still could have pulled out. I could have. So I'm not going to use it as an excuse. I'm going to use it as, I know in my head that I can do better next time. So that's something that's really important, I think. Try not to make too many excuses because it just makes the fighters, I don't know, I just don't think it looks good on a fighter's behalf, and I think you'll get a lot more respect from fans out there if you don't make excuses and you're graceful in the loss and you just put your hands up and say, yeah, I lost the fight, he was a better man that day, but I'm coming back. I think there's so much of a better way to do it. Now, like I said, losing a fight is horrible. I admit, I've gone backstage and cried after losing a fight. It is a horrible feeling. But what my trainer used to try and say with me, and what I try and say with my fighters, is when you lose the fight, put it out on social media as soon as you can. Don't let it linger out. Put a post out on social media. Say what happened in the fight. That's it. Don't try and exaggerate it. Don't try and under-exaggerate it. Just say exactly what happened in the fight. I lost because I got submitted. I lost because I got knocked out. Blah blah. Hats off to my opponent. He done very well. He showed up. Now, you sit and sulk and cry for one day. After that, you get back in the gym, you forget about it, you focus towards your next fight. Obviously, that depends on injuries and that. If you're injured, then you're going to have time off. But sometimes, even if you are injured, now I'm going to make other videos about injuries before, if you can still get to the gym, you don't always have to train, but still try and get down the gym and be in that environment. Like I said, even if you're not training, show up, see your training partners, let them talk about the loss and then get over it, because people will want to talk to you about it when they see you. They'll want to ask what happened, and that loss will be lingering over you just for a little while. But eventually it goes away and then no one talks about it. So the quicker you get that over with, the better. It's no good shutting yourself away, because it will still end up coming back to you when you do see these people you've not seen in a while and they want to talk to you about it. So like I say, get the loss out of social media, get over and done with, forget about it. So that's basically about it for this video. Just not every fight is going to be a negative. Like I said, try your best to take the positives from it. Also, like I said, it's not the be all and end all of everything. As you get older and you have children and you have things like that, you'll realise there are more important things. Don't get me wrong, it's still going to be very, very important, but your children are still going to love you, your parents are still going to love you, no matter if you win, lose or draw. But being that said, always try and learn from it, always try and go out there and fight your hardest. Thanks for watching this video. I really hope this has helped someone out. If you'd like to help me out by supporting this channel, all what I ask of you is if you give it a thumbs up and you subscribe. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all soon.